such a gift without price to be nice even when you feel blue. 'Cause I really care, and I've come here to share my wonderful, wonderful niceness with you.
Hello, I'm Keith Howes, and I was featured editor of London's Gay News from 1976 until 1979. Edna. What does that conjure up? Well, of course, in 1976, it didn't conjure up too much of anything in Britain because Edna Everage wasn't really that well known. However, all that was going to change because Barry Humphries brought his irascible, incorrigible, his unmistakable dame to London for a show. And of course, Gay News was on the hunt to get the interview with Dame Edna. Now, why is Dame Edna important to gay people? Well, first of all, she's a dame. Not a dame because she was made a dame by Gough Whitlam, but a dame because she represents a tradition of the pantomime dame, the man dressed as the woman, and not just a woman, but a silly old woman. But of course, Edna turned the tables on all that sort of stuff because she wasn't a silly old woman at all. She was a very, very sly, ahead of the pack sort of woman. She was ahead of all the trends, and she didn't let anything pass her notice, particularly possums, anything to do with England, class, bathrooms, depilatory creams, any of the accoutrements of middle class life. So England was a perfect place for her to do her thing. And I, of course, as features editor, got the pick of all the interviews. So I, of course, was the one that went to interview Dame Edna Everage at 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning at a house, an apartment in Kensington. And I was met by this rather plump, middle-aged Australian gentleman. His name was Barry Humphries. I'll be ready for you in a minute. Just let me get, yeah, she's coming. Yes, I think, yes, you're from Kenya. And suddenly, Edna was in the room. It was still Barry Humphries, but it was really Edna. Shall I say it was spooky? And of course, Edna had all the answers for Gaiety News, readers of Gaiety News. She wasn't really interested in gay liberation, which was just something to do with the Australian Liberal Party, wasn't it? But her son Kenny was interested. Kenny was a friend of Liza Minnelli. In fact, he was known as Kenny with a K. And he and his friend Cliff, who was quite a bit older than Kenny, they had a little plant shop in Melbourne, I think it was, and they sold little plants and things, and they lived very, very happily, and she liked them very, very much, but she always had to ring before she went round in case they were with one of their little sweethearts. So she always made sure she rang and didn't just come on them unexpectedly. So they got on extremely well. They might have had a fight about a Fern or a Judy Garland record or something like that, but they were really very, very well suited, and Kenny occasionally dressed up as a woman, which was fine, wasn't it? So Edna represented beautifully the ostrich in the sand, elephant under the carpet, parent of the gay. And of course, her interview with Gay News had people rolling in the aisles, not the least of whom was me. I could hardly get through the interview for laughing. Tears were running down my face because she was in character the whole time. And she was saying, well, of course, with my bridesmaid Madge, they didn't call it lesbianism then. They called it having a little bit of a cuddle. So, now I say to Madge, let's have a little bit of lesbianism, but I really mean let's have a little bit of a cuddle. And what are you to do on a cold Melbourne night with your old bridesmaid? I mean, ridiculous. She was wonderful, and she agreed to have a little quiz so people could win tickets to the show. And the next year she did another, even bigger interview with me, which was just as hilarious. She was fantastic. And one of the easiest interviews, of course, I've ever had to do, because she didn't ask me any questions or expect me to ask her any, because she knew it was, shall we say, a directed monologue, direct from Moonee Ponds, and there was no prejudice unturned. She said, just because the readers of Gaiety News are incorrigibly sick, I'd like to just say that one day, you might get over it, but in the meantime, just enjoy your lives. It had that lovely satirical underlay of sheer malice. And that is what Edna has kept up to this day. She is a supreme satirist of all that is junky, meretricious, dishonest, middle class, and yes, homophobic.
It's my niceness. I pride myself on my niceness. It's such a gift without price to be nice even when you